Welcome. So good to see you. I am pumped for today's workshop. We have the mother load for you guys. So I hope you're excited. I hope you're ready to work. This isn't going to be a short session today. Like, this is going to be detailed. It's going to be a deep dive. Thank you for investing your financial resources to be part of this workshop. I promise you, I'm not going to hold anything back. We've got a complete workbook with all the links, swipes, and details that you need. This workbook's going to blow your mind. Do not get overwhelmed. But there's a lot that goes into this. If you want to grab the workbook, and again, this is for your eyes only. For those of you that invest in this workshop, this isn't to be shared. It's not to be distributed. You can get it by going to sevenfigureagencies.com/engine-workshop. So we're all thinking about, we want to grow our agencies, right? We know that in order to grow the agency and take things to the next level, we've got to land clients on a consistent basis. We've got to deliver world-class results for those clients that we get. Then we've got to retain the clients, right? By putting the right systems, the procedure, and the team in place. And ultimately, we've got to scale operations, right? So we can remove ourselves from doing that on the day-to-day. So today's workshop is all on this piece right here. I'm not going to be talking about how to scale your agency today. I'm not going to be talking about delivery. It's all here just on landing clients. I want to let you guys know in advance, we now have 184 agencies that have followed the seven-figure agency process and gone to seven figures. And so what we're going to be sharing on today's workshop isn't theory. We literally have 184 agencies. We track that number meticulously. We spend a lot of time with the agencies in our program that are working their way to seven figures or have gotten to seven figures. This is about as proven as it gets across a variety of verticals and industries. We've got clients in home services, members in legal, members in healthcare, across the gamut. Let me know in the chat, what is your vertical? What niche do you serve in your agency? That helps make sure we're talking the same language here. Roofers and remodelers, deck company says Maria, home services says Brent, Gloria, great to see you, B2B, CJ, hardscapers, Brian, auto dealerships, JR, collision repair, great niche, Noel, med spas, James Clifford, locksmiths. So yeah, these are the niches, the industries where we're seeing the most success. So you guys are in the right place. Some examples, Jim Moline from Roofer Marketers came through this process with like basically a handful of clients. Him and Brian able to glue that agency to over $250,000 in monthly recurring, sold it for a great multiple seven-figure exit. Austin Hauser from Base Coat Marketing works with painting contractors, grew his agency from $0 to $92,000 in monthly recurring revenue in about a 12-month span of time. Now he's over $250,000 in monthly recurring. Chris Rodriguez worked with Dojos, and she grew from $30,000 now to over $250,000. Is it okay with you guys to share some of their examples as we go? Just give me a yes, no. I like to teach the concept, give you the swipe and deploy, and then show you some examples. Like, here's an actual agency that did that and how they're getting results. Okay, cool. Fantastic. All right. So here's the objective. We want to implement a client acquisition system that will drive your agency to $1 million or beyond over the next 12 to 24 months. For those of you already at seven figures, an additional seven figures over the next 12 months. If that's good, if we can install that system, just type yes in the chat for me. Yes or yes. Yeah, absolutely. Chris Rodriguez, one of our members, says this all the time. Math is the path. So I want to start with some basic math on this so we can reverse engineer. All right, we just have to understand the math and the logic behind it. I'm going to draw this out for you guys. We're going to do a little bit of back of the envelope math. Seven-figure agency is $1 million per year, right? And if we divide that by 12 months, that's $83,333 per month. How many clients do we need to get to $83,000 in monthly recurring revenue? I guess it depends upon what your monthly fee is. So let me know in the chat, what is it that you charge on a retainer basis? What's your average monthly fee? You guys will get you the link for the SEO Brain Trust or the SEO Jam Session. Just say SEO Jam Session in here. That way we can get you the right link. $2,500, $1,500. Ryan, Brett, or Esteban, get Ryan the right link. All right, so you guys are somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000. Let's just say it's $2,000. $2,000. If you can charge more, great. I see some of you guys have higher. Ours is like $3,500 a month today. So back of the envelope here, if we've got $83,000 in monthly recurring revenue, we want to divide that by $2,000 a month. That would mean we need 41 clients, right? 41 clients. I'm not talking about hundreds of clients. I'm talking about 41 clients paying you $2,000 per month. Makes you a seven-figure agency. All right, so we need to develop a client acquisition engine that's going to get us 41 clients, give or take, right? It's going to be more or less depending upon how much your monthly fee is. Let's give ourselves a year to get 41 additional clients. 41 clients divided by 12 months. That's going to be like 3.5, right? 3.5 clients per month over 12 months would put you at 41 active clients at $2,000 a month, which would get you to $83,000 a month of recurring revenue. Now, there's going to be churn, right? There's never 100% retention in our agency. So there's going to be some churn. We have to factor for that. But let's just say, on average, we need to add 4 to 5 clients per month to stay ahead of churn. So what we're trying to do is create a client acquisition process to bring in 4 to 5 new clients per month. So a couple of KPIs. To finish the math out on this, we need to know our average conversion rate on a sales call. Somebody give me your number. If you track this, what's your average conversion rate for a prospect that you meet with? You take them through your sales process, and for every 10 that you meet with, how many say yes? Somebody drop the number in there for me, what it is for you right now. 28%, 18%. Who else? 70%, Gloria. Wow, that's amazing. That's step one. If you could drop, only a couple of people are asking for it. 50%. All right, so I'm hearing numbers between 20 to 35%. Let's just say it was 30%. So if you divide your close ratio into the number of clients that you need per month, that means to get 3 to 5 clients per month, we're probably going to need 15 or so strategy sessions per month. Hopefully, as I'm explaining it and mapping it out, you get the idea of what we're explaining here. To get to 7 figures, we need $83,000 per month. Depending upon our monthly fee, we need somewhere between 40 and 70 clients, depending upon what we're charging on a monthly basis. And then we're probably going to need 15 or so strategy sessions at a 30% close ratio to bring that into reality. Because the clearer you are on the math, the clearer you can create the path to bring it into reality. So there's 2 things we really need, right? Based on that math, we need appointments. We need people that are going to show up and be like, hey, I'm interested in what you have to offer. And then we need conversion, right? Or sales or whatever you want to call it. We got to convert those opportunities. So we're going to focus over here initially, how we get the appointments. And then for the second half of the workshop, we're going to talk about how do we convert those opportunities into sales. Okay. So there's a handful of strategies we can put in play to get those appointments, because that's where we got to start in the beginning. First is cold outreach, literally just cold calling, cold emailing, reaching out to prospects. Hey, and I specialize in helping locksmith companies generate better results online. Do you want some help? There's cold outreach. Then there's inbound marketing, which is when we're putting out content. We're creating lead magnets, guides, running workshops and webinars, trying to get on podcasts and get ourselves found, right? Inbound marketing is when people discover us. And it's like a little bit up the hierarchy. And then we've got marketed lead generation as marketing agencies. We all know how to do SEO. We know how to do pay-per-click advertising and YouTube advertising. We should be doing some level of paid lead advertising for our agency. And then up from there, more positioning ourselves as an expert, getting out into the industry is plugging into associations, finding opportunities to present, to speak, to add value at the front of the stage. And so that's more authority-based marketing, more traction-based marketing at the top of the hierarchy. At the very top would be joint ventures, right? It's like finding people that already have relationships with those clients we want to work with, finding a win-win, finding a reason for them to refer us, right? And I know plenty of agencies that have gone to 7 figures or added additional 7 figures just by landing one really great joint venture opportunity, that one really good win-win relationship. And so this big picture, these are the strategies, these are the things we want to put in place. The question is, how do we put this into an engine? The name of today's workshop is the Client Acquisition Engine. How do we take all those disparate parts and put it into an actual process that we can run? I'm not sure how many of you read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, but there's a really good quote in there. It says, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the standard of your systems. And so what we want to do is we want to create a system that we can install in the agency to make those goals an inevitability. And so that's what we're going to walk through today. I've got all the swipes and deploys, but this is the engine that we're going to walk through. The foundational stuff we have to put in place, the things we want to do daily, monthly, and quarterly, the KPIs that we're shooting for, and then the conversion mechanisms and the conversion processes we can put in place to make it all happen. If you're clear, just type clear and we're going to jump right into this. All right, good. Let's rock and roll. Fundamentally, right, before we can start doing all of the different activities, there's a couple of things we have to put in place for our foundation in order for this to work. The foundation is having a CRM and having an appointment process where somebody can schedule in. We can't do any of this if we don't have a database that we're working. I'm not going to tell you go get high level, but you want to put a system in place that you can put this stuff in, whether it's high level, HubSpot, Infusionsoft, or whatever you want to use. And then we've got to have a prospect list, right? Whatever that niche, whatever that market is, we've got to have the list of those best fit prospects, those future clients that we're going to work with that we can start reaching out to so we can prime the pump. CRM, I'm not going to spend a ton of time here. My recommendation is high level. I love high level because it does email, it does text message, it does funnels, and it does it all pretty well. It gives you the ability to cost effectively put your entire client delivery mechanism on the back end of that. So you can create snapshots and clone it out for your entire client base. In the past, I was big Keap user. I switched over to high level about 6 years ago and have been using it ever since. Most of the agency members use high level. The benefit is we've got all of our snapshots already built in there. If you're going to use high level, we can push it right in for you. If you're already using high level, probably most of you are. If you're using something different, that's totally fine. I hope this doesn't feel like I'm trying to sell you high level. It's just the easiest way for me to get you the information and show you to do it. If you're using something different, like maybe ActiveCampaign or something different, put that into the chat as well. All right. HubSpot is great, Chandler. Fantastic. You do all the same stuff I don't know about Zoho, like with the marketing automation piece, but Zoho is a good platform as well. This is the ultimate agency funnel we have mapped out in high level. We're going to be talking a little bit about the appointment funnel and giving you the snapshot for that. It's one of the deliverables you're going to get. But the most basic thing we want to make sure we have set up is an appointment funnel, right? Where somebody can come regardless of how they interact with you, whether it's from a Facebook ad, whether it's from a YouTube video, whether it's from some organic piece of content, whether they meet you at an event, basically say, hey, our next step is let's schedule a time to connect so we can take you through a lead flow analysis, whatever you're going to say in your agency. And everything points to yourcompany.com/schedule, right? And that's where they can learn about you, see your face, get warmed up about your experience, your expertise, and quite simply, just pick a time on the calendar. The way we have it structured, and you can do it both ways, but we like to pre-screen in advance. We want to make sure they're in our niche. We want to make sure they're doing some marketing in advance already. They got some money to spend. And so we pre-screen based on that. And then they pick a time on the calendar and they get to a confirmation page where they get warmed up. And a lot of people in their appointment funnel, they skip the warm-up part. They just have Calendly or something basic where the page has it added to the calendar. We want to make sure we seed some value in advance. And we're going to be spending a lot of time helping you guys implement this in your agency. But just in the fundamentals, we want a place where somebody can schedule in, get reminders, and actually show up for an appointment. At this point, I just want to pull up the workbook for you guys so I can show you what you have. The team was like, I think you're giving too much for this workshop, like you're giving too much away. But that was my goal. My intent was to give massive value here. And like the people in the group that are like, hey, you know what, Josh, you're awesome and I want to do more with you, are going to jump into the program. And the ones that aren't, you're going to get a massive value from these resources that are being shared. So just type fair if that sounds fair to you. Fair or fair? Fair. Okay, cool. Let's see. This is what I wanted to show you guys. If you don't have this open yet, what you're going to do is go to sevenfigureagency.com/engine-workbook. It's going to ask you to make a copy. And this workbook is the culmination of decades and hundreds of millions of dollars in agency revenue generated. You've got the visual for what the client acquisition engine is, a very harsh legal sharing notice. You guys got this for a very good deal. Don't share this. You don't have authorization to sell this. This is for your use only and within your agency. But then there's different tabs for every portion of this. So this has our high-level snapshot that you can pull in, as well as step-by-step instructions to set it up. It's got the prospect list process and how we suggest you comb through that. It's got our cold outreach templates and scripts. It's got our Google Ads campaign setup and structure. I just wanted to make sure you guys don't think the resources aren't there. Every piece of promised deliverable that you were expecting on today's session is here. Just type awesome or great or wow, this is so cool. Just so you know, you've got all the documentation to go along with it. Epic. Okay, cool. Fantastic. Good. All right, so that has been noted. Fantastic. Okay, cool. So first thing we've got to do is we've got to get a list, right? So we've got our CRM. Ideally, we're setting up high level tagging structure. We've got a place to put the name, phone number, contact details, notes, pipeline management for our prospects. The next thing is we have to populate it with data, right? In order to do any type of outreach, in order to set up custom audiences, we need a list. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can get a list. The best way to do it is to buy the list, right? To actually just say, I want this type of customer that has this amount of revenue, that's in this geographic area, and I'm going to acquire that data with the name, phone number, email address, and everything in between. That's my main recommendation. The other would be to borrow a list. And so this is more of an advanced strategy. This would be if you find a joint venture that's already doing business with your ideal clients, and you can find a win-win, either that you're going to do rev share with them or they're going to benefit from their clients winning some way. This has been a great play for us over the years. You find somebody that already has access to all of that prospect data and you say, hey, look, I'm going to give them a copy of my book. Right? You put this workshop on for your list, and now you've borrowed that list data. Build a list by doing your own advertising, your own marketing, offering lead magnets through Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and all the different channels. Scrape a list. This would be my lowest recommendation. A lot of you guys have used D7 Lead Finder or Lead Kahuna. Not the best data comes from this. The other gold standard and the best way to get the list of prospects in your industry is to join the association. You guys mentioned the types of verticals where there is an association. We work with plumbing and HVAC companies. The very first thing we did was we joined the National Plumbing Contractors Association as an industry partner. And when you join the association, you get the list of prospects. They don't give you the emails these days, but there are tools that you can use to reverse append the email addresses of the owners of those companies. I'll walk you through that. But then you also get to draft on affinity. So as you're reaching out, you're not reaching out in the cold, but you're reaching out and saying, hey, we're fellow members of XYZ Association and just wanted to introduce ourselves. We'll talk about how we make that warm introduction. But these are the different ways that we could get the list, focus on associations, and you want to have enough data that you have enough prospects to reach out to, invite people to things, and really start to develop a relationship with these groups. The thing I wanted to point to here, how many of you guys aren't part of the National Association? You don't have a list within your association just yet. Just I don't or do. Brent says me. Don't, says Chris. Okay. I would highly recommend it, right? It's going to cost you a couple $1,000s. Again, you're going to get their credential, their logo. You're going to get the opportunity to plug into their live events, which we'll talk about as part of this client acquisition engine. But usually today, they're going to give you like a spreadsheet. Here's all the companies. Here's all the owners. And that's about it. What you're going to want to do then is use a service like Coldlytics, where you reverse append the data. So you say, all right, here's my list of 100 members or 1,000 members. And then they're going to put a manual researcher on the back end, figure out, okay, who's the owner of that company? What is the email address or email addresses associated with that particular owner? What's their phone number? Some cases, what's their direct dial cell phone number? Investing in appending that data to the list can be huge, right? Because you go from, I've got some names till now I've got a prospect list that I can personally reach out to, that I can deposit value in. There's a couple of quality list sources that you can purchase from: Coldlytics, SIC Code, reachmarketing.com, a little bit on the higher end. Our recommendation is Coldlytics. With Coldlytics, you're able to go in, choose your industry. It's relatively cost effective. And the unique thing they do that others don't is you can have them find the actual owner's email address. As you load it into high level, you're going to get less bounces. You're going to get more direct connections. The big mistake I see agencies make when it comes to this initial kind of like introduction phase is they've got bad data. They've got a list of 5,000 auto repair shops and there's no owner name. So they've got an anonymous company name. and all of these emails, but it's like info at, sales at, which, let's face it, doesn't really get opened, doesn't get responded to, probably bounces in most cases. This will make a big difference, right? Quality and quality. If you got good quality data to make your introductions and to launch this whole process, everything works better. Just type quality in the comments here if that lands. You're going to invest a little bit in joining the association, in using a service like Coldlytics to get good quality before just spray and pray. Okay, good. So we're clear. This is how we get our list. From there, we want to connect with prospects. And what I want to make sure is clear. We're trying to build a client acquisition engine, right? We're not trying to become spammers. We're not trying to cold DM, cold email every last person and piss off the entire industry that we're serving. So what I'm saying is we want to connect with our prospects. If there's 5,000 ideal prospects in our niche that have a certain amount of revenue, have a need, we do want to introduce ourselves to them. We do want to connect with them on social media, but we don't want to come at it like a spammer where we're going to email them 19 times and put them into a 15 email sequence. We all get those messages every day. It's annoying, it's a turnoff, and it's absolutely not going to attract the kind of clients that you want. There's a difference between spam and connecting. Fantastic. So what are we going to do to make that initial connection? First off, you can use a safer way to do it. We'll talk a little bit about that in cold outreach here in a minute. But realistically, if you're just going to make a warm introduction, you're not going to overdo it with your outreach. You know that these are clean emails. Set up your high-level account correctly, import those prospects into high-level, and we're going to invite them to webinars. We're going to invite them to podcasts. We're going to send them case study interviews. So we're going to play very carefully. So our first step is we're going to import this into high-level and then connect with them on social media, right? You can't just email and expect you're going to just attract an amazing amount of new clients. What we have to do is connect with them on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and then engage. Right? Not everyone's going to accept you. Not everyone's going to friend you. But as you connect with them, you start to see that they're posting, right? And you can like their stuff. You can comment on their stuff. Most people that post on social media, even if they only post a couple times a month, don't get any type of engagement. You get to be the person that's cheering for them, that's in their corner, and that's going to help you stand out in the marketplace. So that's what we're going to do to connect. I hope you guys all see that. I didn't say DM them 6 times. I didn't say drop it at their office. We're going to warm introduce so that we can deposit value as opposed to just expecting to get a meeting on the initial approach. Any burning questions on that piece before we go to the next section? We got to get a list, set up high level, and start to connect with the prospects in our industry. Give you 30 seconds if there's any burning questions. Okay. So now we can shift. Are we sending a message at this point? Yeah, CJ, right now we're just loading it into high level. I'm going to walk you through some messaging angles here in a minute. That's exactly where we're headed next. From there, we're going to start a process that will be just driving our client acquisition engine. So there's going to be things we do daily. There's going to be things we do monthly and quarterly. Our KPI for all of this is 15 strategy sessions because we know that's probably the number we're going to need at 30% close ratio to hit the sales target of $1 million per year. So on a daily basis, we should be doing some type of cold outreach, paid ads, Facebook ads, Google ads, and retargeting. And we should be doing content, right? Loading up content. As we connect with these prospects on social platforms, they start to see our content. So to be clear, when I say start posting content, start connecting with your prospects, the question I get every time is, do I do that from my company profile or my personal profile? And again, it depends. If your prospects are on Facebook, then that's going to happen from your personal profile, right? Because your page doesn't have much reach other than with advertising. So your personal profile, like my Josh Nelson Facebook profile, would be who's connecting with those prospects, liking their stuff, and then commenting on things and eventually starting conversation in the DMs. So that's what we're going to do daily. I'm going to step through each of these from here. So cold outreach, we talked about the list, right? We've got our association list and we've got our Coldlytics list. From there, we've got to decide what message we're going to use. And all of us have different raw materials. Some of us have great case studies. Some of us don't, right? And so we got to find the message that's going to be palatable for us based on where we're at and the raw materials we have. 3 message connections tend to work really well. Number 1 would be one in your area. This is what we used to launch plumbing and HVAC SEO. This is how we landed our first 10 or 15 clients in the plumbing space. We got our list of prospects segmented by city: Orlando, Tampa, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. We started reaching out and we said, hey, we're reaching out to all the plumbers in the Orlando area. Thought you looked like a great company to work with. We're looking to work with one company in that area to implement our accelerated growth model. If you're interested, let's schedule time to chat. You can chip away one city at a time. The other would be a value video. You could do a value video one of 2 ways. You could record a video that has some piece of unique value to their particular situation and send it, or say, hey, I was looking at your website, I saw a couple of things, where would you like me to send it? Then you get the people that actually respond back requesting that value video. My preferred mode in today's market would be to lead with your best case study. So great way to start out is just, hey, this company got this result. Would you like me to show you how we did it? Or would you like to see if we can do the same thing for you? I've got examples and templates of all this stuff for you guys, but some variation of those 3 messages is your introductory outreach tends to work really well. And then our delivery mechanism. You could do this through high level. You could do it through Instantly. If you want to be super safe to protect your domain and make sure you're not blacklisted, you probably want to set up Instantly. We've got step-by-step instructions on how to do that, how to set up your campaigns, how to make it so when someone responds or engages, it automatically drops in the high level. The way I do it personally and the way I've always done it is I load them right into high level, I tag them appropriately, and then that's what I use. That way I can keep it all in one ecosystem. But the best practice really is to start inside of Instantly and then slowly roll them over. You'll see in your workbook, you've got the one in your city campaign content, the value video outreach process, and can you handle an additional X? Think about the high ticket thing that you sell. In our case, we work with plumbing companies. And if I were to reach out and say, hey, do you want more plumbing jobs? They've got plenty of plumbing jobs. But if I were to reach out and say, can you handle additional like 3 to 5 repipe projects? That catches their attention because a repipe project is more like a $5,000 to $10,000 project. And like they definitely want more of that, assuming it's the right kind of company. Try to think about what's the high transaction thing that your prospects do that they would really love to have more of, that's high profit, and send a message like that tends to get attention. Then you can parlay that into a conversation about here's how we can help you get more of those types of jobs. And then I've given you guys a process to help you extract. If you have at least one client that you're like, we've got this one client we did really good for, I can point to here's where they were, here's where they are today. And they would be happy to say that we did a good job for them. And Austin's got cases and cases of case studies, which is beautiful. So I'm going to show you that in the workbook here. It's a great way to kick things off and a great way to get things off the ground. So if you go down, again, there's tabs for each of these. You go to where it says cold outreach and scroll down to best case study campaign. This will help you think through the client, the result, like we generated 803 leads. And then how do we form that into a message? Esteban, if you could drop the link for the workbook for Jennifer. This will really help. We've given you examples of these types of campaigns and angles that you can use for different verticals. Esteban or Henry, are you guys there? Let me drop the link myself for you. There you go. That's cold outreach. The other thing I want to emphasize on cold outreach is you've got to be thinking multi-channel. A lot of us, when we think cold outreach, it's just email. We have to use email. We've got to use social and social messenger. So if you connect with them on Facebook, now you've got backdoor access to chat with them on Messenger. If you connect with them on Instagram, now you can DM them on Instagram. So we got to be thinking about that as a channel. And then the phone, right? Eventually, we're going to have to pick up the phone and have conversations, nudge people forward. And then multi-touch. Right? As you look at this engine, you'll see we're not just doing one message and expecting that to turn into prospects. We're doing introductions, we're hitting them from a couple different angles, and then we're going to really nurture them over time. But we're going to make sure we get enough quality and enough quantity to make it work. And I've given you guys a simple tracking sheet for this because cold outreach can be overwhelming. Yes, we're going to do this soft introduction. Ideally, you should be doing a minimum of 5 manual connections every single day. So that's why this is a daily process. if we've got a list of 5,000 companies and we're going to hit them a couple times a month about our webinar, about our podcast, about our case studies, but we should be picking at least 5 of these prospects per day and connecting, right? Looking them up on social media, commenting on something they recently said, and making a quick call. One play that we found really effective is if you're connected with them on social media, one of the best ways to get their attention is to record a quick little video. We're talking about 5 prospects a day, and we're just going to shoot a little video. Hey, Bob, just wanted to connect with you real quick. Looks like you're doing amazing things there at Bob's Plumbing. We actually have an opening in the Dallas market and would love to connect with you if that's something you're open to. Simple video like that, or offering some piece of value. Hey, Bob, just wanted to circle back. We just finished a workshop where we walked through how to get your plumbing company ranked for the most important plumbing keywords in your market. I thought that would be really valuable for you. If you want me to send it over, just shoot me a quick reply and I'll send it your way. Those short videos that are very specific, very intentional, you're not mass producing it. If you send that on LinkedIn Messenger or you send that on Facebook Messenger or Instagram, it's going to get read and it's going to get some attention. And that's what we're after, real live interaction and live engagement on a kind of a micro scale in addition to what we're going to be doing with the major list. So just type 5 here in the comments if you could do that with 5 prospects per day. 5. All right. It's a simple thing. It's hard to do consistently over time. But if you do, I promise you, you're going to start to get deal flow that you would have never expected. You're going to start to develop relationships. You're going to start to get introductions and referrals. We have a tracking mechanism that we gave you for this. Just each day you would put the 5 that you did, that you reached out to, and what you measured gets done, right? If you don't measure it, the chances of it happen are almost nothing if you'll track this activity. This is the most basic activity, but it's the activity that really plants good seeds that will turn into deal flow over time. All right. Some of you saying that you'll track it, not all. So that's cold, right? And that's cold. And I don't want anyone to feel like you should run your whole agency on cold outreach, right? That's not going to get you to 7 figures, but it will create that baseline to build from. And so the way I think about this, the way I approach it is we've got to get cold list, right? We've got to reach out to them via high level, reach out to them via instantly, but eventually we want to nurture them. We want to develop a relationship with that list over time where they start to trust us, know our value. And that's really long-term where the deal flow is going to come from. So next, the next daily activity is ads, right? And we got our list. We're doing our introductions. We're doing our 5 daily touches. From there, we want to do Google ads, Facebook ads, and everybody that is on our list, everybody that enters our funnel, anybody that sees what we do starts to get retargeted and really see us everywhere. This is the visual for it. We've got Google ads, meta ads, retargeting, and all of that. We're going to use some lead magnets in the mechanism. We're going to do some things, but the whole goal is for them to drive to our appointment funnel and show up pre-positioned to buy and go through a sales process with us. So we'll start with in-market opportunities. I'm very surprised how many marketing agencies I talk with that aren't doing Google ads for themselves and they're not running Facebook ads for themselves. We got to eat our own dog food. And I promise you, when you structure it correctly and you put appropriate financial resources behind it, these can be great, consistent drivers of appointments and sales. And so whatever niche you're in, there's people in your niche actively looking for SEO, for pay-per-click advertising, for website design. And so you just want to set up a very intentional campaign to capture anybody typing in your niche plus those services. Right? In our case, you type in plumber SEO, internet marketing for plumbers, plumbing digital marketing, and we want to make sure we've got our paid ad that comes up, and we do bid on this. We do spend financial resources here. We want to drive them to a very specific, very directional landing page, send them to the page with a very clear call to action, phone number, schedule strategy session, and pixel them so they're going to be retargeted. Not everybody that gets through your landing page winds up converting, but if they were looking for that and they landed on our page, we definitely want to retarget them. And so there's 2 things I'm really going to encourage you guys to add to this process. First would be pixel. We'll talk about that in retargeting, but the other would be a blind opt-in. There's lots of great tools now where if they get to your website, we can scrape your IP address, get the name and the email address, and add them to our database so we can continue to nurture them, even if they didn't fill in the form. So don't sleep on a blind opt-in process for that. And then we're going to retarget them. Becky, what's the revenue point do you recommend starting ads? I think it depends upon how much financial resources you have. Probably you could start doing it right away if you've got some capital to invest, but I would say above $20,000 or $30,000 in monthly recurring, you definitely want to be running ads. How does the blind opt-in work? I'm going to cover that in just a second. I wasn't planning to, but I will because I think there's probably some interest in that. What do you recommend? So for Google Ads specifically, because it's such a niche search, like a lot of you guys dropped in niches like landscape companies, locksmith companies, med spas. There's only so many people typing that particular thing plus marketing, plus digital marketing. So there's not a ton of search volume, but for Google Ads and retarget, you're probably going to need $1,500 a month to prime that pump. And then you're going to want to manage the campaign or have somebody that can manage the campaign for you and see, are we missing impressions share? Is there more search volume here? You could probably in certain markets spend a lot more than that. But if you can invest at least $1,000 to $1,500 on Google Ads, you probably don't have enough money to really make it work. All right. And then what does the retargeting look like? So our retargeting is pretty basic, right? They got to the website and now they're going to see banner ads. Like they're going to see testimonials of clients. They're going to see, hey, click here to schedule your lead flow acceleration session. And on the Google Display Network, you've got the very specific banner sizes that you can design for. This creates a sense of omnipresence. If they're in our cold list, we're going to match that as a custom audience. So they're going to start to see those banner ads everywhere. If they're getting to our website, we're going to take that pixel, we're going to expand it as long as possible. So they feel like they're seeing us advertising all over the place. Let's see. What's a good budget for the ads? Nicole, we'll talk about Facebook ads here. Depending upon your traffic, and if you don't have any traffic, they're probably not going to be able to run too much because you need a minimum amount of traffic for remarketing advertising to work. But it's probably going to be at least $500 a month in retargeting and probably at least $1,000 to $1,500 in Google Ads to play this game. We've got a great template, and the team, again, is, you can't believe you're sharing this with people on the workshop, but there's a simple to set up Google Sheet where you swap out plumbing, HVAC, or electrical to whatever niche that you're in, and it will set up, like, here's your keywords, here's your ad groups, here's your text ads that you can bring right into Google Ads to launch the campaign and really have it pretty dialed in right out of the gates. That's in your workbook, should make things super easy. Can't give you everything, right? You got a whole coaching component to what we do and an online portal with step-by-steps for all this stuff. If you want more help, it is available, and I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to plug in at 7-Figure to see if that's something you're interested in. I want to come back to the question about the blind opt-in. So let's just say you're running Google Ads, somebody types in locksmith marketing, they wind up on your landing page. You're going to have Google Tag Manager running, and Google Tag Manager is going to pixel them, right? So now we can run ads in a variety of different ways. In your Google Tag Manager, you can also add a script through a service called Reach Marketing. Basically what it does is it looks at the IP address of everybody that came to your website, and it spits out a file where it's got the name, the email address, and the phone number. It's not 100% perfect because it's based on the IP address of how the person got to the website. But what we'll do is that'll drop onto a Google Sheet, and then you can pull that Google Sheet right into High Level. And then you want to have some type of blind opt-in follow-up, which basically says, hey, I saw you on the website. Was there anything we could help you with? And then you just add them to your nurture sequence from there. Works really well. Esteban, if you could confirm the name of that platform for me, I'm drawing a blank. We set it up, it runs. I just can't remember the name of it. It's the blind opt-in platform. They're also sponsors at the event. Yeah, we'll get it for you guys. Okay. So that's Google Ads. Any questions there? I think I've covered all of the basis, and you've got a great little swipe and deploy that'll make it super easy to set up those campaigns. I also gave you the template for this landing page so that you can have a proven landing page to split test against if you're not already driving paid traffic for your agency today. Type helpful if that's going to be helpful for you guys. So good. The next is Facebook ads. I think most of us probably run meta ads. And when I say Facebook ads, I really mean Instagram, Facebook, the whole meta universe of advertising. With Facebook, the key is targeting funnels and ads When it comes to targeting, it's not as good as it used to be. We used to target the plumbing company. I'm going to load up my custom audience. I'm going to create lookalike audiences from it. And that doesn't work nearly as well as it did. If you're going deep down that track and you're not getting great results, it's because whenever they changed the setup, it did not continue to work as well. With that said, I still think there's a place to take that list. So all of the people that are on that cold list that you acquired, all of the members of the association, any of your past clients that happen to be within the niche, you can take that and load it as a custom audience inside your Facebook Business Manager. And that could be one layer of targeting that you put in place. The targeting that we're finding working best right now is actually open targeting. It'll scare you out of the gates, but you leave open targeting, choose your country, choose the revenue threshold, and let your messaging and your advertising call out. I specialize plumbing and HVAC home service companies. You want to generate better results online? Here's how. We've done a lot of this type of work with our seven-figure agency member community. What's working best is open targeting outside of the custom list that you might load up. You got to think about what you're going to do and how you're going to pull them in. The most directional strategy that we've found is to have a compelling offer on your ad that pulls them into an appointment. Obviously, you're going to follow up via all of the different mechanisms that you have in place. Simplicity scales, complexity fails. If you're not getting good results on Facebook today, test this out. You'd be surprised. It's very simple. It takes away like 100 different layers that I've tried to do in the past. Simple ad. You could use a video. That works well. You could also use images. Make sure you call out the audience in the headline, plumbing and HVAC contractors, and then take them to a lead ad. I love landing pages, but people on Facebook want to stay on Facebook. Facebook wants to keep people on the platform. Have your ad lead to a lead ad where they enter some basic details. From there, have that push directly through high level to a workflow where you can email, SMS, you can do the whole process to follow up with them. This keeps your tracking super simple. Attribution becomes easier and there's less friction in the process. You can see exactly, here's how much I spent. Here's how many appointment requests I had. Don't sleep on Facebook Messenger because through high level, you can connect that so they can get a text message and a messenger from you right after they fill in the form. After they fill in the lead ad, it's going to say, click here to schedule. And that can redirect to where they can schedule it with you. But very few people do that. And so if you don't have automation that text them and say, hey, is this Bob? Hey, Bob, you just filled in the form to schedule a time. Did you want to schedule a time to connect? You're not going to get many appointments. You're going to wind up with a lot of noise. But if you set this up right, it can have a very manageable cost per lead. You can actually attract people within whatever vertical you think. And probably you don't think that it can, but you definitely can. And we're seeing appointment requests for between $30 and $87. And different verticals, I've seen people do even less than that. That's a really affordable cost per lead, especially if we can convert those at 10 to 15% into appointments that turn into opportunities for purchase. In your workbook, I've given you all the details. I've given you the snapshot. When someone fills in your lead ad, it kicks off that automation campaign to try and move them to appointment and drops them onto your pipeline. I've given you samples of the ads that we're running that tend to work best. Test it, right? This stuff works. Type Facebook if you'll test like running these Facebook ads in your niche to attract clients. Let's go. The other question we get often is, how much do I need to spend on Facebook ads? And it's a very similar answer. It's going to be somewhere in that $1,500 a month territory and up from there. Obviously, that would be your starting point. If you can't spend $1,500, it's probably not going to monetize for you. But if you can put all the tracking in place. You can really watch it. You can make sure you're getting the right people coming in, people that are actually scheduled for appointments. Let's see. So use Facebook for lead gen and retargeting. So it'll be two different campaigns. Yes, you want to do a separate campaign that's more reach for your retargeting and for your custom audience. Brett, cost per lead went through the roof with Andromeda. Any insights here? Yeah, the biggest thing with Andromeda is creatives and coming up with different video angles, different images. You can't get away as much as you could in the past with set and forget it. And so one of our members, Chris Rodriguez, specializes in dojos and martial arts studios. She did a deep dive on how they turn things around through Andromeda. and it was mainly creatives. I think I gave you guys my VSL script. I would really encourage, create some good videos, get some good videos edited. I've given you tons of examples in there, but yeah, you're going to have to be a little creative with the advertising. Larissa, which ads convert more? Images, videos, or carousels? It's funny, it seems different from vertical to vertical and from personality to personality. One of our members, Nick Horde, who specializes in urgent cares, he's done a lot of testing with Facebook ads in this exact approach. And what he found worked best was video, but video of women for whatever reason. And he used to do all of the videos himself, and obviously he's the owner, but he started testing out hiring talent through places where you can hire video talent and gave them a script. They started creating videos with different women, different men, different people. It's $50 an ad to have them created. And Andromeda really will start to show you which of your ads are getting most view. And that's one of the key performance indicators, which videos or which of those ads are actually generating the best appointment flow, the lowest cost per lead. And he found that the women on video worked best. So take that for what it is. I've also found if you don't so some of us, we don't have a great video production capability right now. Maybe you don't feel confident on camera. The most simple ad you can run, it defies reason, is a real looking image of you with your family. That ad tends to work really well because it captures the attention of the audience. It doesn't feel like an ad. And so there's this personal angle play that you can run where you load up 10 pictures of you with your family and say, hey, this is Bob. I specialize in helping plumbing and HVAC companies. I'm a home-based, local, individual-owned business. Those types of ads perform really well. Okay. I could spend more time here, but I think we've covered the main thing. When we get into retargeting, I will be talking about unmasking and the blind opt-in again, because it did come to me, the name of the company. Ideally, once they've entered our funnel, we want to retarget them. And ideally, all your retargeting is eventually pushing to an appointment. If they saw your ad that had the opportunity to schedule and they didn't take that, we want to also offer lead magnets and things that would be a lower barrier of resistance where we can add value. So retargeting to a copy of your book, to a lead magnet, like a cool guide that you've created, retargeting to a case study where they can opt in for that. And then once they've opted in, you want to be pushing to the appointment. Hey, schedule your lead flow session now. And then mixing in testimonials. And those could be image testimonials. They could be video testimonials, but that's going to build the authority in the eye of the prospect. They get to your website, if they enter your funnel in any way, now they're starting to see your advertisements all over the internet. Pretty basic. If you don't have this set up correctly, this is a low-hanging opportunity to really dial in that client acquisition engine. Make sure that you're running on Facebook and Google Display Network. Make sure that you have the pixel-approved Google Tag Manager on all the pages in your funnel and everywhere else. Set up your conversion goals and retargeting through the steps of the process. The name of the system that we use for the blind opt-in is called Exact Match Marketing. This is the tool. It's Exact Match Marketing, and it's surprisingly cost-effective and give you the name of the people, and then you can set up a simple workflow so that once they get to your website, whether they opt in or not, you can drop them into a follow-up sequence and you can add them to follow. All right, guys, the team just dropped it into the chat. I thought I was sharing my screen just then, but I guess I wasn't. How are we doing, guys? Are you tracking along with me? On a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being you're falling asleep, 10 being really excited about how this engine is developing, feeling good about where things are headed. All right, Chandler, Brian, Giovanni, getting some 10s. 19 for Tim. All right, that's what I like to hear. James, 11. Okay, cool. All right, so we've talked about the things we need to do daily, right? We're doing cold outreach and making those introductions 5 a day. We're running Facebook ads, Google ads. We're creating content. Now let's shift to the things we want to be doing monthly. There's 2 main things that I suggest you do every single month to drive your content engine, to drive your authority positioning, and to really be looked at as a prolific thought leader in your industry. And that's every month do a webinar, and every month do a podcast interview of some sort. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to do this. What we've done and what most agencies do is we get a list and we do some cold emails. We join an association, get that list, start doing some Facebook ads and Google ads, and prospect data starts to aggregate inside our CRM. We got names, emails, prospects, and maybe they went through a workflow but they're stagnant, right? They're not going to go anywhere. And so that's where our deal flow goes to die, right? We have to figure out, how do we activate that list on a consistent basis? How do we continue to add value to that list on a consistent basis? I'm a big fan of Dan Kennedy. I used to go to all the super conferences. Type Dan if you ever went to any of the Dan Kennedy stuff back in the day. I don't think he even really does that anymore. I know, acquired by ClickFunnels. I remember sitting in a Dan Kennedy workshop, and Frank Kern was there, and Frank Kern was doing a session. He goes, the money isn't in the list. The money is in the relationship with the list. You're only going to have value in that list if the people that are on that list know you, have gotten value from you, believe that you can deliver world-class results for them. And so, like, how do you develop relationship with the list? You got to deposit value. And really what we need to be doing is we've got to be touching that database. We've got to come up with a reason to touch the database at least 2 to 3 times per week, right? Via them seeing you on social media or them getting emails and messages from you 2 to 3 times per week. And we have to do it in a way that adds value, because it can't just be, you want more leads, you want more sales, you want to generate better results online. We have to actually be giving them value. We've got to nurture them. And then, of course, we've got to offer to help. Give value and be like, hey, if you want more help, I'm here to do it. Our team can do this for you. And when you do that consistently, and that's really where this client acquisition engine starts to purr. One of the great shortcuts is doing monthly webinars, because when we have a specific date and time, Thursday at 3 o'clock, you're going to be coming in and teaching something of value. It changes the dynamic of the reason to message the list. Instead of, hey, want help? Now we can say, hey, I'm going to be putting on a workshop on this topic. Would you like to join me? You can send a couple emails about that. After the workshop is over, you can send another message that says, hey, in case you missed it, here's the recording of the workshop. At minute 3, I shared this idea that everybody really loved. Doing one webinar every month gives you a reason to contact the database, to touch them with value. It forces you to become a thought leader. It forces you to come up with slides, to come up with case studies, to come up with your point of view on how to teach this information and share it with your audience. And of course, there's lots of extra use for those webinars. You can repurpose it in so many ways after it's done. It's going to help you grow the database by doing your webinar every single month, right? Because we're going to promote the webinar. Ideally, some of these mentioned, we're going to run Facebook ads, letting people know we got this webinar coming up. New people are going to find you because of it. If we syndicate it correctly, people are going to find the recording of it. They're going to hear the transcript of it. And that's going to bring people into your world. They're like, okay, that person's an expert in my industry. So it gives you a reason to grow the database, but it also gives you a reason to nurture the database, right? Because we're emailing them again and again to invite them to participate in this process. And so really what this is, it's a systematic process for creating new content and nurturing your database. We get a reason to email them, and then we've got the replay that can come out after the fact. One webinar gives you 3 touches to the database, at least 2 emails before, at least 1 email afterwards, and at least 6 pieces of content. What are the 6 pieces of content you get from one webinar? First of all, when you show up live on Zoom to do your webinar, you've got live all eyeballs, right? People are like, okay, I'm here, I'm focused, I'm learning from you. You're going to record that and load it up to YouTube. And now you've got a long form piece of content on YouTube that can be discovered online. You're going to take the audio recording and turn that into a podcast episode. You can take the transcript and make it a blog post on your website. Then you can drop the actual webinar into something like GetMunch that will take the hour-long webinar, the 45-minute webinar, and chop it into smaller pieces. So I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but just like webinars, there's a lot of reasons and a lot of value. Opus Pro, yeah. No, Noel, that was actually the tool I was thinking of when I paused. All right, so you guys get it. This is a valuable piece of the engine, right? We're going to do this every single month. Really important, though, there's another critical factor in the webinar that makes it work really well, unexpectedly well, and that's the shortcut. And so I think you guys can see this, right? And I'm giving you guys the swipes to deploy for this, but you drive people to a page where they can register for the webinar, like the new SEO formula for plumbing and HVAC companies, right? People that are interested, click the thing, enter their name and email address. But there's magic in the thank you page after they've registered for the webinar, because not everybody shows up. Most people get too busy. Most people won't watch the replay, but they will register. You'll be able to get lots of volume on your webinars. And so after they register, we want to make sure we take them to a page that says, hey, thanks for registering for the webinar. It's going to be awesome. You're going to get lots of new ideas, lots of new insights. You're going to love it. But if you're like most plumbing and HVAC companies, you just want someone that can implement that strategy for you so they can get you ranked for the most important keywords. So if that's you, I'd like to offer you a free one-to-one. We'll sit down, look at your exact situation, and show you how you can get those results. Go ahead and click the button on the side here, get scheduled, and I look forward to talking with you soon. What's interesting is you'll get almost as many people that scheduled that didn't attend the webinar. They just registered for it and scheduled in as you will from the people that watched the full webinar. So you get a double benefit from doing your webinar every single month. You're going to get appointments coming in. Let's see what Tim says. I did my first webinar, but no one showed up. All good though, planning the next one and going to keep going. I think that's the big fear a lot of people have about webinars. What happens if I promote it and nobody comes? It happens to the best of us. Jim Aline and Brian Niebler from Roofer Marketers grew to 250,000 and sold that agency. They did the webinar method every month. Their first webinar, the same thing happened. They promoted it. No roofers came. So what did? They did it anyways. They hit the record button. They loaded the recording of the webinar onto YouTube. That first webinar went on to generate thousands of views and at least dozens of clients over the years. Kudos to you for doing the work to do the webinar. The more you do it, the more you prove that you're going to show up and you give great value, the more people will show up and participate. Make sure that you offer that shortcut in the process. What topics? Take the fundamentals of what you do and just do a teach on that. In our case, we do 8 webinars every single year. We have them on rotation. Planning for the year, we do one more workshop, like how to build your plan to market your plumbing or HVAC company online. And it's your 2026 marketing plan. And then we'll talk about websites, how to set up your plumbing website for maximum conversion. I show examples of websites and I teach about the fundamentals of conversion. And then I'll do one on how to get your website ranked for the most important plumbing keywords. We'll talk about SEO and show examples of clients that are ranking and how they rank and what we did with the website. And then I'll show the tracking data on the back end of that. Can you do that? Can you show up and teach? Not sell, just literally show up and teach what you do for clients. Just teach if you can do that. That's the key when it comes to creating great webinar content. There's too many people that just want to veil, hey, come on, I'll teach you everything, and they don't teach you anything. And then of course, nobody shows up for your stuff after that. You can show up and teach. That's how you do that. And then you've got to syndicate it after the fact, right? You want to make sure that you take the YouTube video and you make it a blog post, put it up on iTunes, and take the slides, you put them on SlideShare. I gave you guys the whole checklist for this, like the before and the after for webinars and what our process is. The one thing I didn't give you, just because it's outside the scope of this workshop, is all of our webinars. And that's one thing we do give to our 7-figure agency members. It's one of the great benefits. Since I've already done these webinars, I've got the slides, the resources that go with the slides, a basic script of how I cover it, and the promotional sequence, like the emails that I send to promote the webinar and get people to show up, as well as the register and confirm funnel. And so if you're interested in getting additional resources, this is something we give to our members. We'd love to have you as part of that. Tim says, as a former pastor, I'm not scared to talk in front of people, but it's so different when doing it in front of a camera. It's nice to have real people on with you. Yeah, so let's make sure next time get at least like 1 or 2 with us. That way we can have that two-way interaction and dialogue. All right, so 2 things we're going to do every month. We're going to do our webinar. The other thing we're going to do is a podcast. And when I say podcast, a lot of people get a little worried. They're like, oh, what's a podcast? A little scary. That sounds hard. This is the easiest thing you can possibly do. You literally are just going to show up on Zoom or on Riverside because the quality is measurably better and it's going to be a better outcome. You're just going to have a conversation. You and somebody in your niche that is already generating great results with their business. You're just going to ask them, hey, tell me about your company. Tell me about how you market yourself today. Tell me about some of the lessons you've learned, some of the biggest mistakes you've made. Tell me about what's working best right now in terms of generating leads and sales. What lessons have you learned that you want to share with our viewers? Just a series of questions that you ask on Zoom. You record it, then you load that up as a podcast. You load it up as a YouTube video. It's a simple thing that you can do once a month. And even if that's all you did, 1 webinar, 1 podcast every month specific to the niche that you serve, you will be light years ahead of your competition. Type podcast if you can do a monthly podcast for your industry. Noel, his question was, does the podcast have to be for a client? It doesn't. Our first handful of people we interviewed, I think the first 2 were clients. But then after that, we started just interviewing really successful names, and it didn't hurt us at all. What's the other interesting piece of the podcast is if you're struggling with your cold outreach right now, like some of you guys, just the thought of doing the 5 daily touches, it makes you nauseous. Type me if you feel like, oh man, I don't want to reach out to these 5 people. Like they're not going to be interested in talking to me. There's got to be at least one of you that you're like, I hate doing the idea of doing cold outreach. Tim, that's you. A lot of our members have started to do, and it's really pretty interesting, is instead of cold outreach and making an offer, they're cold outreaching and say, hey, I run this podcast. It looks like you're running a great company. I'd love to interview you on the podcast. How many of you think people will be more receptive to come on and tell their story and to be on a podcast than they would to get a sales pitch? This is a great way. If you're struggling to get appointments right now, I don't know that they're interested in what I have to offer, invite them on a podcast. You do need to be strategic with not baiting and switching them because you do want the content, but you also have to say, hey, one of the things we do for all of our guests is run this report of your current online marketing. I ran that report for you. Can we schedule a quick time to walk you through that, show you what I saw? Because you led with featuring them in advance, you've developed a relationship with someone that would have never met with you, and they're going to be receptive to have that follow-up meeting. And even if they don't become a sales opportunity, that's somebody that could refer you to somebody else. That's somebody that could plug you into another opportunity. Use your podcast as a prospecting play, especially if you don't have the deals that you need. You don't have the deal flow that you're after. That might just be the little nugget. That's okay. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run the podcast, create great content, develop relationships, and that might be the catalyst to really get some significant growth. My format's pretty simple on this. It's me on camera and it's the guest. I use Riverside because I get high quality video from them. In the past, I did it on Zoom and the quality degrades in the download. If you're investing in this, I think it's $97 or $100 to get Riverside. It's worth the increase in expense. Ask a series of questions, and then you get your video file and your audio file. You load that up as a podcast episode. You take the transcript. You can use it in a lot of different ways. Minimum would be once per month. Ideally, if you could do a little more frequent, if you can make that like a weekly interview for the podcast, especially early on, that's going to drive even better results. But that's your monthly activity. Type monthly. If you like, you can do these 2 things. This is going to make your client acquisition engine purr. Monthly. We're going to do a podcast. We're going to do a webinar. We're going to be a thought leader within the space. This is going to make us prolific. It's going to help us develop relationships. It's going to help us identify referral opportunities. Fantastic. So the next thing is what we're going to do quarterly. We've talked about what we do daily. We're doing our cold outreach. We're running our Facebook ads. We're creating content. Monthly, we're doing our podcast and our webinar. Now, quarterly, there's 2 things we're going to do once a quarter. We're going to find a live industry event or conference that we can get out to. As marketers, most of us, we're behind our desk. Like we like to be on digital. We like to be on Zoom. But magic happens when you're live and in person, right? And your industry, whatever that industry is, gathering. A couple times per year, there's meetups happening on a national level and then even on a local level. But use plumbing as the example. Every single month, there's at least some big industry conference where they're doing idea exchange, continuing education, after-hour dinners, and charity events. And then every month, in just about every city across America, there's a local chapter meeting up. It's probably like 15 or 20 contractors, but there's no reason that once a quarter you can't find a gathering to be at, whether you're there with a booth or as a presenter. You want to find those live opportunities to engage and to plug in. A lot of this really comes down to let's find those opportunities. Let's get the booth and plant the seeds. When you pay for a booth and get to the event, you're going to get some sales, right? Because people are like, okay, what do? You're going to have the conversation. If you're a little bit more assertive, you go and sit in the sessions, find out who's running the education. You start to figure out who puts on the topics to select for these, and do you need additional speakers? Because if you can shift to being an exhibitor that's also helping to promote or speaking at the event next time, that's where you can really change the game and get even better results. After hours, there's going to be charity events, people hanging out at the bar. Get out from your booth and go talk to people, create relationships. And then there's other exhibitors at these events. The guys that are sitting there with their booth and their board, make sure you talk to them as well. Those are your future joint ventures. Those are people that have the relationships with the clients you want to do business with that you can find win-win relationships with. Type live in the comments if that makes sense. We got to find some live places at least once per quarter, just 4 times per year, where we're going to get live and in person. I know a lot of agencies that like this, just getting more active in the association, getting more active in the real world had a massive impact on their growth. This is technically what you're talking about. You got your little banner, you've got a booth, and ideally you got some tchotchkes and things that you can hand out, and you try and figure out a reason for people to come back and see you and engage with you. And then the other thing we're going to do once per quarter is case studies. You want to, once a quarter, document a client case study. And what this does is it takes you from just somebody that's teaching and talking to somebody that is teaching, talking, and documenting your results and proving your work. And that is really where you become bulletproof, because now you're like, hey, look, here's a client we work with. Here's where they were when we started. Here's the result they've gotten, and here's the data to back it up. And so I've given you guys a document that walks you through my process for creating these types of case studies, but it's relatively simple. There's 2 different types. There's going to be the interview style case study, and then there's going to be more like the video-based style case study. And there's going to be a place for both. Sometimes there's a place to combine them. You just find the client that's done really well, and you bring them on Zoom or you bring them on Riverside, and you ask them some questions, right? You ask them why they chose you guys, where they were when they started, how it's been working with you, and most importantly, where they are today. What you're looking for in this interview is the from to the to. I was only generating $100,000 a year, and then when I hired you guys, now we're doing $1 million per year. Like that from the to is what you're after, and a little bit of the emotional story, which is, oh, that's how my life changed. Because you did that, because I got that growth, I was able to retire my wife, or I was able to buy this house that I really wanted. So that's one format. The other format is more of a tactically, you're just pulling up ScreenFlow or whatever recording platform, and you're walking through, hey, this is one of our clients. This is how many leads they got over the last 30 days. This is what we did to get to this outcome. And you're just breaking down the results that you've gotten for them. But the biggest piece is to get the from to the to. And then you want to really make sure you leverage that case study. Don't just create a case study and put it on the case study page of your website. You can use this in a lot of different ways. You can email about it. You can run ads about it. You can post about it on social media. But this is one of those things that takes you from being a thought leader to somebody that has proven results. If you can get consistent case studies for your agency, prioritize it. Because if you don't prioritize it, you can be getting great results for clients, but you won't be documenting it. So you won't be getting the leverage from it that you should. Outstanding. And I'm giving you the swipe and deploy for that. This is what we're going to do to fill the funnel, right? These are things we're going to do daily, monthly, quarterly, with the target of 15 strategy sessions per month. If you believe, once you've implemented these tactics, you're doing it consistently in your agency, you can get 15 or more strategy sessions per month. Just type 15 into the chat. And again, that's an important number, right? Because if we get 30% conversion rate on those 15 appointments, then we can land 4 to 5 clients per month. And if we're charging between $1,000 and $3,000 per month, then we can get to the $1 million additional revenue run rate on a very consistent basis. All right. So now we've got to shift gears into how we convert these opportunities into sales. Are we feeling good? If you're still tracking with me, you're feeling strong. Great. Lots of goods coming in. Okay, great. All right. So let's shift gears now into sales. Starts with the appointment funnel. Again, I briefly touched on this at the beginning. You guys actually have the snapshot for this. It's going to be fully customized inside your high-level account. But basically, we want a page that sells them on why they want to meet with us, right? This should be a video of you saying, hey, if you're ready to take your plumbing or HVAC business to the next level, what I'd like to offer you is a lead flow acceleration session where we'll do a complete review of your current website, your current rankings, your current conversion strategies, and show you where there may be gaps and how you can generate 2 to 3 times better results over the next 12 months. So if you'd like to take me up on that, enter your details over here on the side, and let's schedule a time to take your business to the next level. I gave you the script for that. There's a recording of it that you can access, but that's the basic gist. We want to sell them on why they should take the time to meet with us, and then give them a place where they can pick a time on the schedule. We want to warm them up. And this is where most funnels fall on their face. They schedule the time, and then it takes you to a page where they add it to the calendar. Right here is a prime opportunity to warm them up so that they don't just show up to the appointment, okay, show me what you can do, but so that you can really excite them about the appointment, about what they can expect, about how their life's going to be different or better once they meet with you. You want an autoplay video here. That's, hey, thanks so much for scheduling your time. Really excited about connecting with you. We're going to do a lot of due diligence prior to this appointment. We're going to pull up your website. We're going to pull up your rankings. We're going to develop assets that you'll be able to take and run with. So if you could, please block this on your calendar. I know your time's valuable. Our time's valuable as well. We're going to invest a lot of time, so it's really important to us that you show up. There's a button here where you can add this to your schedule. If you could, just take a look at a couple of the case studies of some of the other clients we work with. You can get a feel for what's possible in working together. And I'm so excited to connect with you. Little video like that right after they've scheduled does two things. First, a little bit of know, like, trust. Like, okay, they've got a solid process. It's a world-class organization. A little bit of expectancy. Most of us, if we don't do that, we get ghosted on these calls. People say they're going to come and they don't show up, and it's very frustrating. But how many of you think if they watched one of your case studies before meeting with you, they'd be more influenced to do business? Yes or no? Does GHL provide the Snapshot Online Presence Report? Yes. Yeah, definitely. There's lots of tools. Actually, I think at Sales Process, I'll talk a little bit about how we run that report to deliver that for them. We want to warm them up in that process so they don't just show up, but they show up pre-positioned to buy. Brian says, I don't have any, just starting. If you don't have any case studies, that's fine. You could still sell it without it, but if you've got it, you might as well incorporate it into the process. The other simple thing you can do that we found really improves our show-up rate and also had a notable improvement in our conversion rate was giving them a little bit of pre-meeting homework. Usually it's a day or two in advance. What we like to do is send the case studies, but then also say, hey, Bob, in order to get the most from our appointment together, I'd love it if you could watch this quick 15-minute video. It will help you think about your current online marketing and identify some gaps that may exist. It doesn't have to be that long, probably a 5-minute video, so it doesn't feel like a big ask before the appointment. In that video, you would map out your model. In our case, it's you've got to drive leads, you've got to maximize conversion, you got to optimize ROI, right? And in order to drive leads, we've got to do SEO, paid ads, and we've got to do database marketing. And we ask them to rate themselves, red, yellow, and green, on how they think they're performing today. And what usually happens in each of the areas of our model, they identify something that's missing, right? And it opens a loop in their mind. They're like, oh, wait, I'm not doing any database marketing in my public. Okay? I don't have any marketing automation after a lead comes in. I have no idea what my average cost per lead is. I'm not really tracking the return on investment. And so when you get them to think about that before they come into the appointment, they're like, oh, I really think I'm going to need you guys' help because I think that these are the missing components. And we found that that had a great impact on our conversion rate. And so this is something you can record once and use again and again to really warm up your prospects before they meet. Gloria says, love that idea. Have them rate themselves. I've given you examples of all of this in the workbook, so you've got it as a point of reference. So that's your appointment funnel. That's what we're going to warm the prospects up. We're going to ensure a high show-up rate on the appointments. From there, we've got to sell, right? We got to really take them through our sales process and get them to say, yes. I asked you to rate yourself at the beginning, but what's your current conversion rate from an opportunity into a sale? And be honest, some of us are like, oh, I'm converting at 50%. Gloria, I do believe you're at 70. What's the number for you right now in your agency in terms of your conversion rate from appointment to sale? Brent's 15. The average conversion rate for agency services is 11%. Like from the big agencies like Scorpion and Reach Local, that's what they found is the normalized number. So don't feel bad if you're not converting at 30 or 40 or 50%. That's the industry norm. Gloria's mine's high, but I don't have a lot of like yours is a very high qualified, either referral person. At volume, it's a little harder to maintain as well. This is a big piece of the client acquisition engine. We got to know how to convert those sales opportunities into deals. This is the 5-step sales process that we use. We found works really well. We get them to raise their hand. We do some type of discovery on the front end, like pulling up their website and their rankings and having that stuff researched in advance. We take them through a consultative sales process and ask for the business. And then we have a follow-up for those that don't say yes out of the gates. And really what this requires is some level of meeting prep, right? Because if someone's scheduling in and they're like, okay, I'm going to meet with these people, we need to have run some analysis to be able to poke holes in what they're doing today. In some cases, we do our analysis and they're crushing it. They're ranking for everything. Their website's converting. In those cases, we just say, hey, look, this looks like you're doing pretty well. Usually what we're going to do is we're going to run a ranking report. Nowadays, we use ChatGPT to take our keyword list and combine it with the cities they operate in. Then we drop it into Bright Local ranking report tool that shows where they're coming up on Google. We have an AI ranking engine that our team has developed that will show how they're coming up on ChatGPT, Gemini, and other platforms. And then we'll do a quick analysis on their website. Do they have online scheduling? Do they have a web form that you can submit? What's the conversion factors on the website? And if there's only a web form, we're going to submit the form and see what happens. If there's just a phone number, we're going to call the office and see what happens. Not every time, but in most cases, you call the office and it went to voicemail. Or you call the office and somebody answered, but it was a service that didn't really have their stuff together. If you can point to the fact that, hey, look, website's ranking well, looks like it's probably missing out some conversion factors, but your conversion process after the lead comes in is so far off, that's a profit lead. We can help you with that as part of our program. That's what you want, right? You want to be able to come in armed with, here are some reasons you might not be getting the results that you should. So few people answer the phones, right? And using high level, whatever your program is, you can really solve for some of the obvious conversion leaks in their process. We take them through this flow in the sales process. I think I've given you guys the full flow here. Visually, we're going to lead the meeting. Hey, we got a very specific process that we take these meetings through. And we're going to start with understanding their goals, where they're at today. What's the goal for the next 12 months? How important is that for you? Why is that a right now thing versus a later thing? Spend some time understanding where they're at, where they're looking to go, what the gaps in their current strategy are. And then say, hey, look, that's great. Look, sounds like you want to go from $1 million to $3 million over the next year. Sounds like you're currently with Scorpion. You're not happy with the results. I definitely think we can help. We did a quick analysis of your current online marketing. Is it okay if we look at that together? And get their buy-in. You have to have these yes points throughout your sales process. And they're going to say, yeah, absolutely. Show me what you can do. And then from there, we can review the findings. We say, hey, look, we ran this ranking report. I filled in the form on the website and there was literally not even an email. It was still 2 hours later, no response. As you default the leads in 2 minutes or less. Just whatever your findings are, you're going to review those findings. And then you're going to be able to shift to present and be like, hey, does that make sense? Do you see how the reason you're not converting is preventing you from hitting that goal? And get them to say, yeah, I see it. Like, I'm not ranking for those important keywords. We're not coming up at all on generative engines right now. And it's different for everybody. In some cases, they're ranking well, but their website's not going to convert. In some cases, they get a beautiful website, but it's not coming up for anything. So you got to find the unique mix of what's the gap in their current strategy. Get them to say, yeah, I definitely see it. And then say, is it okay with you if I walk you through what we do and what I think you guys need in order to take things to that next level? Usually they're going to say, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. And then you can present your program. Present the program. And then you say, how does that sound? Are you comfortable with everything we've covered so far? Do you have any questions? Where do you think we should go from here? This is really important. Let them take the lead a little bit and take the reins. If you've done a good job understanding their goals, establishing the gap, and presenting some very serious issues with what they're doing online today, they're going to be like, tell me how much it costs. Like, how do we move forward? Then you walk through your pricing. You share some examples and expectations. Here's one of our clients. We did this. This is where they're ranking today. This is the results they're getting. Does that make sense? Are you comfortable with what we covered so far? Where do you think we should go from here? That sounds great. And then usually the way we close, and we've changed this over the last year, that works really well, is to take an assumptive close that doesn't ask for the credit card. At the end, we say, based on everything you've told me, like you want to go from here to there, there's some very specific gaps. You feel like our program is going to be a good fit. I think this is going to be a great fit for us as well. Our next step is to schedule your kickoff call. I've got some availability on Tuesday at 2 or Thursday at 3. Which time works best for you? You let it pause there because that's your trial close. If they don't want to schedule the kickoff call, there's still objections, there's still issues. Maybe they want to look over the program. But if they say yes to that, now you've got the deal done. Tuesday at 3 o'clock, great. I'm going to put that in the calendar. The fee is $3,500 per month plus ad spend. I just need a credit card on file for that. What kind of card do you want to use? If you start by scheduling the kickoff, getting that yes, and then capture the credit card details. Okay, great. So excited to have you on board. Really excited about working with you. Before the kickoff call, I need you to fill out the credit card authorization form and the agreement. So I'll send it over to you via digital signature. Just make sure to get that taken care of before the kickoff call. And I'm really excited to see you there. Give me a yes if you feel like you could use that pattern, because that pattern made a big difference in how we convert. Because asking for the credit card used to be like the stuck point. They're like, "Ooh, wait a minute. I don't want to give you the credit card." I'm like, "I haven't really decided whether I want to do this yet." You get the trial for yes. Okay, cool. Now, does this mean everybody's going to say yes? No. There's still going to be people that are like, "Oh, hold on. It sounds really good, but I want to look at the agreement and think about it further. I want to understand everything." That's fine. This is not a hard pressure close. A lot of people will say yes to the schedule the kickoff call, and they will give you the credit card, and the deal's done. You don't want to make it harder than it needs to be. But for the ones that want more information, hey, not a problem at all. Glad to get you all those details. There's two things you want to do before you wrap up that conversation. What questions do you want to make sure I cover in my follow-up? We definitely want a program overview we're going to send over, but they may have some question or issue that they have looming in the back of their head that we want to try and flesh out. And ask for the business again. Well, will you do that and say, "Hey, are you comfortable with that? Does that cover the question that you had? Where do you think we should go from here?" They might say, "Hey, let's just go ahead and schedule a kickoff call." But if they don't, be like, "Okay, great. I'm going to send you all the details. I'm going to get busy. Can we just go ahead and schedule our next meeting right now just so we can get that on the calendar and be clear on what our next steps are?" Yes? Okay, great. Let's meet again on Tuesday at 3. Every sales conversation needs to end with the next meeting. If it doesn't, that deal is absolutely headed for stall. What if it's ACH, Brian? Same thing. We do billing through ACH. Let me get the bank account details you want to use. You write it down, and now you've got everything you need. You've got a scheduled appointment, and you've got payment method, and you're going to get them to sign off after the fact. If they don't want to give you the thing over the phone, there's going to be people that's the case, in which case you're going to have to send them an agreement and schedule a next call regardless. Awesome. I'm telling you, after closing literally $40 million or so in agency services, this is the path that's worked best for us. This is really converting at an extremely good level over the years. That's sales process mastery and how we handle those sales calls. The last thing is some type of hot lead follow-up. Not everybody says yes on that call. We want to have a hot lead follow-up that goes out after we've met with the prospect that's scheduled the next call, right? Because now they're interested. They had a great sales conversation, but they still aren't completely decided. Hot lead follow-up is just something you can put in place that is an automation, right? Meeting just happened. Move it to hot lead follow-up in your pipeline. What we do is we send a shock and awe package in the mail. So we send a package with a cover letter, a program overview, a copy of our book, just a way to stand out impressively after the sales process and before that next meeting. There's a little workflow with it. "Hey, thanks so much for taking the time. I really think it's going to be a great fit. Here's a document with an overview of the program. Let me know if you've got any questions. Look forward to meeting with you again on whatever day and time you guys scheduled. Hey, here's some examples and case studies from the clients we've had success with. If you've got references, by all means, some people like to call references. Here's 5 clients that would happily connect with you and answer any questions you have from their experience." You drip some additional added value between the sales conversation and the eventual yes. Do you recommend selling the total package first or enough to get them started and upsell from there? My preference, Brian, is to sell them what they need, right? So if they're at $1 million right now, they're trying to get to 2 million, and I really think what they need is our comprehensive program with like website, SEO, paid search, marketing automation. I'm going to say that's what we need. And I'm going to ask for that business, and that's what I'm going to sell. I haven't had a lot of success selling like a little service and then eventually selling them up. People that buy the little service tend to stay at the little service, right? They are never going to graduate to the program that I want them at. Almost every client we get is signing up at like $3,500 to $5,000 per month. And that's pretty much the situation. All right. So that's the hot lead follow-up. Our KPI here is 30%. If we've got our system dialed in, we've got prospects coming in, they're getting appointment reminded, we've taken them through a great consultative sales process, We've got a very tight conversion process where we ask for the business. We've got the hot lead follow-up that moves them to the next step and converts more of them to sale. I know a lot of people that convert higher than 30%, but that's the KPI that we want to shoot for. If you feel clear, like I can level up this sales process and really get this client acquisition machine purring. Awesome. Okay. So that's the client acquisition engine. I want to share the workbook with you guys. I want to make sure everybody knows I've covered the material, but the meat and potatoes is in your workbook. And on the side is all of your resources, right? So case study builder, here's how you build your case study. Here's the questions that you ask. Here's examples of the format and a presentation template that you can use. Well, I've dropped a lot of additional resources in here for you guys. Trade shows and events. I've got templates. I've got ways to find those types of events. Even in the sales process mastery, I've given you the framework. The team didn't want me to give all of this stuff necessarily, but I just wanted to make sure we delivered the goods. So if you had to rate what we've covered so far on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being like, Josh, you just wasted a bunch of my time, 10 being like, you over-delivered, I got value, I feel clear, I feel like I've got all the resources. Eric, you give me a 110, that's beautiful. Chris a 10, Nicole a 10, Roberto a 100, Chandler a 10. All right, good. I'm really glad you guys got value. That was my goal. Brian says best program ever. Fantastic. So we talked about client acquisition today, right? I really believe you now have the client acquisition engine to get those 15 appointments, to get those 4 to 5 clients per month, to build to that 7-figure level over time. But land clients is only really one piece of the overall puzzle to scaling your agency, right? We've got to land clients, then we've got to deliver results in a systematized way, like really knock it out of the park for the clients, come out of the gates with good project management rhythms. And then we've got to retain those clients long-term. We got to figure out how we do world-class onboarding. How do we wow the clients every step of the way so that they stick with us long-term? And then we've got to scale, right? Ideally at 7 figures, you're going to have to put systems, procedure, team, AI infrastructure. There's a lot of things to put in place. And so that's really where 7-figure agency coaching and mentorship comes into play. If it's okay with you guys, I'll just kind of walk you through. You guys came on for the workshop. You got amazing value, but just type okay if it's okay if I walk you through high level what 7-figure agency coaching and mentorship is, what's included, how much it costs, and you can decide, hey, that sounds great for me. And if it's not great for you and it's not right now, that's totally fine too. That's the one. Make sure you drop the workbook in for them again real quick. I really think agencies are one of these stages, right? From startup to stability to scale to significance, all the way to Titan, where you're doing a multiple 7-figure agency. I know that we all go through this emotional roller coaster in our lives and in our business, right? There's a moment right now, maybe we feel excited. It's, you know what? I've got this new client acquisition engine. I've got all these swiping deploy resources. I feel excited. This is great. But then tomorrow, oh, this is hard. And then it's, hey, it's working. And it's, I'm messed up. And then it's, hey, give up the good for the great, to, I think I'm bankrupt. Type me if you've ever feel this way. You feel like this emotional roller coaster as we run our agencies. Type me if you feel that way from time to time in your agency. Every day, me says Tim, Chris says me, Gloria. Yeah, we all feel it, right? And that's the reality. And if it was as easy as joining this workshop, getting the swipe and deploy resources, and just magically having it all done, we'd all be multimillionaires. We'd all have 6-pack abs. We'd all be driving Lamborghinis, right? Because it's not that easy. It requires massive effort. It requires getting punched in the face. It requires rejection. It requires having things that we try that don't work the way that we expected. That's why having a coaching program that can help you implement it, support you, bring you up when things are really down, and keep you emotionally balanced and trending in the right direction is why we created the 7-figure agency coaching and mentorship program. Right fit and wrong fit, we're very protective of the 7-figure agency community. We've got a world-class community of agencies that are crushing it, that are winning, that have each other's back, that have an abundance mentality. And so it's really important to us that we only bring in people that are going to be a good fit. And right fit would be people that are in a niche agency, that are committed to grow, that are willing to share, that have an abundance mindset, that know there's enough opportunity for all of us. And so if that's you and you're like, I'm the type of person that hits the ground running, that can get things done, that's willing to share, that's probably a great fit. Wrong fit. And this is really important. If you're a wrong fit, please, let's take a hard pass. A wrong fit would be you feel like you've got it all figured out. I already run my agency. I'm already super successful. I don't need it. If you feel like you like to do things on your own, like you don't want to share what's working or what's worked best for you, you don't take good feedback from coaching, all of those would be not a good fit for the program. But if you're a good fit, I'll walk you through what it is and break it down in 3 phases. Hopefully the screen is large enough for you guys to see. Phase 1 is clients and cash flow, right? What we've found is the most important thing right out of the gates is to get you deal flow, right? To make sure that you've got the growth system and the client acquisition engine, not just up here in ideal mode, but actually implemented. And so there's some very specific things we can do right out of the gates to get some wins and to get some ROI. We have one goal for you in the first 60 days in 7-Figure Agency, and that's a program that pays for itself, right? The program's going to be $1,500 per month. It includes a lot of cool benefits. Our goal is you've got a $1,500 client in the first 60 days or less, ideally 2 or 3, and then everything else we do together pays for itself. Our goal is for this to be cash flow positive. Right now we got 352 members in the program. They're in the program because they got value, ROI, and the world-class community. They're like, I love this group. I love these people. I love staying on the cutting edge. I like Josh. I like Yesenia. I like the team. But that's our goal in the first 60 days. We're going to get you into our 10K in 10 minutes program, which is a very specific training with some templates and some emails that you can send out to generate 10K as quickly as possible. And so it's all about leads, cash flow, and sales. And it's 100% 60-day love it or leave it. In those first 60 days, if you're like, hey, you know what, Josh, I didn't get return on investment, or you know what, I tried the program and it didn't work for me, you can let us know and we'll refund your investment. So that first 60 days is basically guaranteed. You're going to get revenue growth or you're going to get your money back. Phase 2, we start to shift into strategy and growth. So that's basically months 2 through 6. It's working through what we call the Agency Growth Navigator. There's a ton of training in 7-Figure Agency on how to land clients, how to deliver better results, how to retain your clients, how to lever, how to build your sales team, build your account management team. But we all had different constraints, right? And what we found is people would feel overwhelmed. There's so much content. And so what we're going to do is run you through the Agency Growth Navigator with your coach. You will have a dedicated one-to-one coach that you're meeting with, working with you to help drive you through this whole process and find the number one constraint. That's either I need more leads, I need better authority, I need better closing, or better retention. Our objective in phase 2 is predictable clients. We're not just getting one client that paid for the program, but 3 to 5 clients month in and month out. Our goal is at least an additional $10,000 in monthly recurring revenue. At that point, you're looking at me with a live intensive, slapping me a high five, saying, hey, I love you, buddy. You've changed my life. Life is grand. And I think this is a pretty cool community. And so clear growth path is what we're after with phase 2. Phase 3, months 6 to 12, is really around scale, which is now we're going to be doing a quarterly game plan with you and your coach. Here's the goal for the next quarter. Here's the biggest constraint. Here's where we need to solve for. Putting new systems and team in place. At this point, it's mainly around creating more freedom. You've got the money coming in. Now, how do you remove yourself from the main functions within the business so you have the freedom to do the things you really want to do? You're going to get weekly guidance, monthly workshops, and we get together in person 3 times per year. That's phase 3, but you're welcome to plug in, even in phase 1, to the live intensive. The next one is coming up in March. And so, big picture, that's the 7-Figure Agency Coaching and Mentorship Program in a nutshell. Does that sound like clear? Like, just type clear if you feel like that sounds cool, or if you have a question, you can say, I have a question. The normal value of the 7-Figure Agency Coaching and Mentorship Program is $3,000 per month. You have access to it for $14.97 per month. You're never going to have more information about this community, about what we can do to support you than you have right now. If this sounds good, you're like, you know what, Josh, I got more than my $97 worth out of today's workshop. I can assure you get more than your $1,500 worth out of your investment in the coaching and mentorship program, because we'll be able to work together on a consistent basis. I'll be able to support you, encourage you, and plug you into that world-class peer group. So if you're ready to get started, all you have to do is go to sevenfigureagency.com/sign-up, or I don't know if this QR code works actually, sevenfigureagency.com/sign-up. That'll redirect to the link that Esteban just dropped in. Go.sevenfigureagency.com/accelerate-coaching. Minimum ROI in the first 2 months, 100% satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not getting value, if you don't get the client flow that you expected, just reach out. Not only will we cancel, you say, hey, I want a refund, and I will refund it with no questions asked. One of my core beliefs is I don't want to take money from people that I'm not serving and supporting, that I'm not getting an exponential return for. I'd almost rather you say, hey, look, I'm not getting ROI and give you the money back and us leave on good terms, than you feel like, man, I paid the money, but it really wasn't that good. So you can feel confident when you sign up, you're going to get all the resources, you're going to get plugged into the Facebook community, you're going to get the support, and you're good. If you don't get the ROI, you can't afford it for some reason, just reach out and we'll take care of you. I would encourage you to do that, to go get registered. Some of you want more details and you're like, you know what, I'd like to understand a little bit more about how the program works and what's included. If you go to sevenfigureagency.com/details, that'll take you to a simple Google Doc that spells it out. Here's exactly what the deliverables are. Here's when you can expect things. Here's the guarantee policy. If that's, you can go to sevenfigureagency.com/detail. And some of you are like, I need some time to answer questions. Like I've got some very specific questions. I'd like to know like this or that. And if you want to talk with somebody on our team and you've got some specific questions, you can either hang out here in a breakout, or you can go to sevenfigureagency.com/Esteban. That'll give you one-on-one time with Esteban on our sales team. And if you've got specific questions, that's the place to get those answered. So that's the scoop. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks for the investment that you placed in this program and be part of this process. I'm excited to see how you implement it, how you get results with it. For those of you that are going to sign up, I'm excited about working with you and helping you take your business to the next level. You can sign up for that at sevenfigureagency.com/sign-up. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up there.